Ahead on Up with KREM, it's been a tough few years for would-be homebuyers, but a new law could change that. How the government is trying to help people unlock home ownership.
And coming up in your forecast, I'm tracking some mostly dry conditions with temperatures in the low 90s.
Plus, your next smartphone or laptop could be more expensive. How artificial intelligence is pushing up price tags. Good Saturday morning, everyone. Welcome to Up with KREM. I'm Tim Pham. Well, let's start you out the day with Jenny Power tracking today's forecast. Jenny, my goodness, it was so smoky. Still dealing with some hazy conditions, but it's going to be sunny hopefully today.
Yeah, that's what we're seeing out across the inland northwest, Tim. So as we're waking up on this weekend, temperature is going to be even a little bit cooler than where we were at yesterday. We're looking at some low 90s, but yes, dealing with some of that heavy smoke yesterday was not ideal to get the weekend started, and we have still been seeing some areas of smoke and haze. Otherwise, though, what we're watching out for are mostly sunny conditions both today and into tomorrow. Taking a look at how this smoke is expected to move through the region, this is one model's prediction of that, and a lot of this has to do with wind direction. So we've seen new fires start towards southern Washington as well as into Oregon, and winds from the south have pushed that smoke up into eastern Washington and North Idaho. Moving forward into this afternoon, though, we're going to watch for winds to shift a little bit coming from the west, which will push that smoke to areas east of where those fires are burning. So down on the Palouse, we're looking at some smoke there, but otherwise, future tracker for you, mostly dry conditions, plenty of sunshine, clear for any outdoor plans you might have. Of course, what you do need to monitor if you are outside is that air quality in your local area. Otherwise, highs are going to be in the low 90s for Spokane. We're even looking at some upper 80s out toward parts of the North Idaho panhandle. Moving forward, though, the look at temperatures and how they're expected to climb for the upcoming work week, that's coming up in my extended forecast.
The Washington State Department of Commerce is raising the maximum rent increase cap. Starting January 1st of 2027, landlords are allowed to increase rent up to 10% more. The increase comes after last year's new rent control law, which introduced new rent stabilization and tenant protection legislation, capping rent increases to a max of 7%. Owning a home has long been a part of the American dream, but it's becoming less of a reality as housing prices soar. Experts say prices are going up because there's just not enough homes to meet the demand. That's where the new affordable housing bill just made law comes in. It's expanding access to housing by allowing factories and offices to be converted into apartments and authorizes grants and loans for older homes to be repaired.
It removes some of the excessive regulations so the builders can be a little more active.
The bill's critics say building could be slowed by local zoning laws, but the law includes provisions to encourage state and local government to adopt land use and zoning policies in support of housing development. New data from the Washington Office of Superintendent says nearly 1/3 of Washington school districts have yet to adopt a cell phone policy. The state superintendent says in the upcoming legislative session, he will propose a bill that will require all Washington school districts to adopt what he calls away for the day policies, where mobile devices like phones would have to be stored away or left at home. Keep in mind here, some schools in the inland northwest, like Spokane Public Schools, have had some sort of cell phone policy in place for more than a year. Meanwhile, with the popularity of AI increasing, so is the price of laptops, tablets, and even gaming consoles. AI data centers are driving up demand for the same memory chips used in consumer devices. Chip makers are struggling to keep up, and tech giants, including Apple, Microsoft, and Nintendo, have already raised prices on some products. Even refurbished devices may cost more than they did last year.
Refurbished tech can also increase in price, even though it is a used or maybe secondhand device, because of the demand. So you're not going to pay, of course, full price. You'll pay a fraction, but you shouldn't expect the same prices that you saw last year.
Analysts say the shortage could last until at least 2028, and prices may never fully return to pre-shortage levels. It's the weekend and there's a lot going on, so we've got you covered in your Weekend What's Up. First up, find your new favorite bowl and support local art at Scoops and Bowl. It's the Urban Art Co-op's annual fundraiser that artists work all year towards. There will be any size and color of bowl, plus other ceramic pieces for sale, and you get free ice cream with your bowl purchase. That's all happening at 10 a.m. Support a good cause and get your fill of pancakes, sausage, biscuits, and gravy. Ooh, doesn't that sound good? The Sam Owen Fire District 24th Annual Pancake Breakfast is today at 7:30 a.m. It's just $6 per person, and all the money they raise will go toward training equipment. The World Cup final is tomorrow. The reigning champs, Argentina, will now face Spain in New Jersey. Kickoff for the game is at noon. And if you aren't making the trip to New Jersey, the city of Spokane is hosting a watch party at the pavilion. The event is free for everyone. You just need to get a ticket through the city's website. You may remember the city did this when the U.S. faced Australia in Seattle. And sticking with the soccer theme, this upcoming Wednesday is KREM 2 night with the Spokane Velocity. Next Wednesday, evening anchor Sydney Schofield is going to be live from One Spokane Stadium in our evening newscast. We're going to be hearing from the team's head coach and players ahead of the match. The Velocity are hosting the Charlotte Independence. Kickoff is set for 6 o'clock. Do you remember this viral video? Turns out the winner of the T-Rex race lives right here in Spokane. We talked with her about her big win and even bigger trophy. That exclusive all-new interview is next. And later, when is a home security system actually worth it? The simple tips experts say you should try before you spend big on cameras and monitoring. Remember this, the T-Rex race, and this wasn't any old T-Rex race. This was the Emerald Downs T-Rex World Championships T-Rex race, and this is the women's division. And we actually have the world champion here in our studio right now because she is from Spokane. Mimi Miyazawa joining us here. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Congratulations, by the way. What an
you.
honor. I've interviewed different athletes before, different champions, but never the champion of a T-Rex competition. I have to ask you, how did you get involved with this?
Well, my boyfriend actually got me into running it. He was like, we're doing this T-Rex race this weekend. Do you want to join? And I was like, sure, why not?
Sure.
Let's try something new.
Sure. You weren't like, wait, what?
Yeah, I was like, this is something, okay, I've never done before, so yeah.
Okay, so what goes involved in getting ready for something like this? Because it is fun, but those runners look very serious. Like, how do you prepare for this?
Well, it was my first time for sure, so I didn't know what to really expect. But I mean, I ran cross country and track in the past.
So you have a little bit of a background.
Yes, and so I was like, okay, like, maybe just put it in the mental note of just like, okay, just think of it as like a track race or something. It's 100 meters long, and so I was like, okay, just put yourself in that kind of mindset.
Okay, and you actually have a little bit of a background on how this race started. How did this get going? Because it's kind of random. We've seen like corgi races and different things like that, but why a T-Rex race? Why did they do that?
Well, my boyfriend, he works for TriGuard, and he's been doing this every year. And the owner, the founder of TriGuard, actually started this race.
No way.
In like 2017 or
Okay.
18. And he started out as like more of a humorous kind of like team building
Sure.
exercise. And so at first they started and they're like, let's do this at the intermission at the Emerald Stadium when the horse race was going on. And so they started doing that. And then the next year they're like, let's do it in T-Rex suits. And so they did. And so they just like, they ended up loving it. And so they do it every year. And they do it in memory of him too. He passed away like 3 years ago. So.
And your boyfriend, you mentioned him a couple of times, has participated in this as well, right? Did
Yes.
you say every year?
Yes, he's participated every year.
But has never won, right?
He was really close.
Okay.
He was really close, like by like a little bit of a hand, like a finger's worth. or something like that. He has a picture of it, and he's like, I was really close.
But you have the trophy to show for it.
Yeah.
Show us the trophy.
Here's the trophy.
Oh my goodness.
Yep. It says almost as tall as me. So.
I know. I was going to say, it's almost as tall as you. What a trophy, though. And tell us what the experience is like to be able to race in a T-Rex costume. For someone who's never put on one of those, I can't imagine how hard it would be to run in a costume.
Yeah, that was like the first time I was in an inflatable T-Rex like suit, and I was so excited mostly about it because I've always wanted to be in one. But when you race it, it's actually pretty hot. Luckily, the weather wasn't too bad and everything, but it was hot in there because the air's going.
Can you see anything?
For me, like I'm in a teen suit and the head just goes up and there's like a little window for you to see. But I had to like pull mine down a couple times. But once you're running, I just like let it go. And
yeah, you're just like full sended.
Yeah, the head would wobble and whatnot. So you're like, you really can't see anything like on your side. It's really tunnel vision.
Oh my goodness. So what do you plan on doing with that trophy now? And are you going to put this on like your LinkedIn, your bio, that you are the world champion? I feel like I'm in the presence of greatness right here.
I mean, it's basically just going to be like a decoration in the house, and it'll be like a place where people will be like, oh, what is this? Why is there a dinosaur? Why is there a trophy? And then like, let me tell you.
Yes, it makes for a good story. And what's the reaction been like from your friends? Like, I feel like this is now your fun fact when you go around and introduce yourself. I have won a world championship T-Rex race.
Yeah, I like FaceTimed one of my friends back home. I'm from Utah. And she was like, guess what happened this weekend? And she was like, what? I was like, I just won a world championship for T-Rex. And she's like, what? And I was like, yeah, you got to run it. Come run it next year.
Oh my goodness. It's like, this should be in the Olympics. So
it might be.
Never know.
They actually might want to do it in Japan too.
Hey,
so.
That'd be pretty cool. Well, Mimi, thanks so much. Congratulations
so much.
again. My goodness. World champion here, folks. We'll be right back.
And coming up, I've got everything you need to know for this weekend's forecast.
As of yesterday, a new burn ban is officially in effect. That's because the Washington Department of Natural Resources says we've already seen several major and costly wildfires this season. The new burn ban is for all DNR managed lands. This means no burn piles, campfires, or charcoal briquettes. Fire officials are urging people to stay prepared.
Have go bags at the ready and know what your actions are going to be should you be under the threat of wildfire.
DNR did not say exactly when the ban would be lifted. Meantime, DNR is moving ahead with plans to add 10 more AI-powered cameras across the state. Bridget Chavez shares how these cameras work.
These cameras are always watching.
With the Pano AI, it immediately detects the fire.
Mounted high above dozens of Washington's peaks, they continuously scan the horizon for the first signs of smoke.
And when it sees something that's changed, it'll focus in on that, trigger an alert back to the dispatch center.
The Washington Department of Natural Resources says a fire could be burning for some time before someone driving by realizes the smoke shouldn't be there and calls 911.
The public isn't trained, so it may be the third or fourth or fifth person.
The agency first launched its camera network in 2023 with the California-based company Pano AI. It now has 26 cameras across the state and now has funding to add 10 more.
We think this will probably be our last phase, but it'll take us up to 36 total cameras.
DNR is working to select the 10 new sites, ranking mountaintops based on visibility, proximity to communities, wildfire activity, and whether the area is remote enough that a fire could go unreported.
Nice thing about the cameras compared to historically lookout towers staffed by people, that camera's looking 24/7, 365. It's always looking for fires.
The cameras are always learning and use infrared technology at night.
Everything for us pivots on initial attack, being successful. If we can catch those fires small, they're not the big catastrophic fires that eat millions of dollars and burn homes. So we get more efficient, we attack the fires when they're smaller, save the taxpayer money.
Well, thanks so much for joining us here on this Saturday. Let's get a look at the forecast and what we are seeing across the region. Temperatures are going to reach into the low 90s this afternoon for Spokane. It will be mostly sunny, but what we were seeing yesterday was a ton of wildfire smoke and reduced air quality. And so we are still waking up to areas of that this morning, a bit of the haze, and you might still smell some of that smoke. So if you are someone who is particularly sensitive to this or really impacted by wildfire smoke, you may want to consider doing some things inside for any weekend plans that you might have. Here's one model's estimate of what we're expecting to see as some of this smoke moves through the region. A big player in this has to do with our wind direction, where winds are still going to be coming from the south-southwest, blowing wildfire smoke from fires that are burning for the down towards southern Washington and Oregon up into parts of eastern Washington and North Idaho, which is why we're waking up to some of these hazy conditions. Moving into this afternoon, though, the winds, they shift a little bit, expected to be coming more from the west and blowing some of that smoke further toward areas that are east of wildfires that are burning. We're even watching to potentially clear out a bit more for Spokane and Coeur d'Alene by Sunday. But of course, all of this factors into the wind direction that does stay consistent with our modeling, as well as the potential for new fires to start. That could also throw a wrench in our plans to hopefully see some clearer conditions. As far as what we're watching for, though, through this afternoon, winds are going to be a little bit breezy at times, with gusts near 25 miles per hour possible. Sustained winds more from about 10 to 15 miles per hour, but still coming from the south-southwest. Moving forward through the rest of the day today, as well as into tomorrow, we are gradually going to see those winds calm down, but still could be a little bit breezy at times tonight over the Cascade Gaps. Future tracker, though, for you, plenty of widespread sunshine. We are preparing for an extended stretch here of mostly dry and clear weather conditions. We can see that as we take our future tracker all the way here through Sunday, even into Sunday afternoon. Taking a look at your temperatures, highs will reach the low 90s for Spokane. We're looking at some upper 80s across the North Idaho Panhandle. However, highs in the mid to upper 80s down on the Palouse. We've got low 90s for Moses Lake as the high, and some upper 90s for Richland and the lower Columbia Basin. That's one of the hottest spots on the map for us. Overnight tonight, we drop here into the low to mid 50s, even upper 50s across Bonners Ferry, Sandpoint, and Coeur d'Alene. Low 60s is what we fall to tonight in Spokane, 59 degrees for Moses Lake, and we are in the low 60s for Grand Coulee and Omak. Taking a look, though, of our outlook into next week, temperatures are still going to be on the warmer side, as we are going to continue to see highs, even bumping up a little bit into the mid 90s through our extended forecast, the middle to end of next week. We do have the potential of seeing some more storm activity, bringing in some wet weather, but that's something that we'll have to monitor closely. For now, dry conditions this weekend. Just watch out and make sure you're checking the latest air quality here, especially if that is something you are sensitive to. You can also always get updates and stream our live local radar for completely free on the KREM 2 app. It's easy to download on your TV or your phone.
Because of those warm temperatures, if you're planning to cool off with a swim, remember to stay safe. The water can turn dangerous in just seconds. AAA says people tend to overestimate their swimming abilities, so here are some basic steps you can take to be safe while in the water. First, get CPR training so you can help others. If you are boating, paddleboarding, or kayaking, make sure you have a life jacket. Only dive where you know it's deep enough. Remember to stay hydrated and, of course, use sunscreen. This is the time of year where a lot of us head out of town to take a summer vacation, but how secure is your home while you're gone? Before you spend a lot of money on home security systems, here are some of the simple habits experts say might protect your home better than all of those gadgets.
Doorbell cameras and DIY devices are more popular than ever. And according to Consumers Checkbook, they're also far cheaper than many traditional alarm systems.
The fact is, most burglars, they get into homes simply by walking in through an unlocked door or raising an unlocked window.
Executive editor Kevin Brassler says that most burglars aren't using sophisticated Ocean's 11 tactics. In most cases, they're looking for an easy target, an unlocked door, an open window. That's why Brassler says homeowners shouldn't assume they need an expensive security system to stay safe.
There's some kind of anecdotal evidence that burglars might tend to avoid homes where it's clear there's a burglar alarm and a siren may go off. But in the end, the way they break into homes is pretty similar.
Consumers found professionally installed systems can run you anywhere from several hundred to several thousands of dollars. And that's before you factor in the cost for monitoring, which can be $1,500 or more a year. Whereas consumers found basic DIY systems can be assembled for as little as a few $100. Even big names like ADT are now offering do-it-yourself kits. ADT Blue doesn't require a contract or even the professional monitoring costs.
I think often that may be the better way to go in terms of saving a lot of money.
But he says the best home security habit is also the cheapest. Lock your doors, lock your windows, and make sure it looks like someone's home even when you're away.
Come one, come all. In 2 minutes, we'll take you to the big top 10. You won't want to miss the Cirque Italia's water circus this weekend only.
All right, if you have not made it out to Cirque Italia yet, you do not want to miss this opportunity. I've become a huge fan of the circus, just being able to hang out with Hannah right here, and you see all the amazing talent as well. Do you ever get goosebumps watching just how talented these folks are?
Every single time, absolutely. If you haven't made it out, you still have chance. We're here. If today's Saturday, today we have 3 shows. It's going to be at 1:30, 4:30, and 7:30. Tomorrow, Sunday, we have 2 shows at 1:30 and 4:30, and Monday is our definite last day. So if you didn't make it out now on the weekend, you still have a chance on Monday. Check us out at cirqueitalia.com. We're just off I-90 at Spokane Valley Mall. And if you don't want to check us out on the go, come by. We have a ticket office open since 10 o'clock this morning.
All right, I got a few more questions, but if we could step over here for a second, just as we give them the spotlight. How exciting is this? I mean, just to know that you get a live audience. What is that like when you get to interact with people who are just excited to see you?
Absolutely. You know, we have a little bit of everything. We have an international cast. It's for all ages. You can come with your grandma, you can come with your friends, you can come on a date, you can come solo. You know, you're going to have a good time anyways.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time anyways, and we want to say thank you. Woo, 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 woo. We appreciate you so much. Thank you, Hannah, as well. Thank you. And just come out here for yourself. Check them out, and I promise you will not be disappointed.
We've got more ahead. New in 10 minutes, a conversation with a financial expert about achieving financial freedom, the simple steps he recommends. Ahead on Up with KREM, people toss out millions of electronic devices each year, but only 15% of them are recycled. Why it matters. Plus, your next Gonzaga basketball game could be a little different because of what you can now buy at the concession stand. The change GU announced this week. And later, an all-new direct flight out of Spokane this winter. Will you book it for your next vacation? It sounds pretty tempting to me. That's coming up in 5 minutes. Well, good Saturday morning, everyone. Welcome to Up with KREM. I'm Tim Pham. Let's welcome in Jenny Power in the Weather Center right now. Jenny, you're tracking some sunny and even breezy conditions today?
Yeah, that's right, Tim. So let's get you ready here for this Saturday. Of course, what we've also been experiencing is a little bit of smoke and haze lingering through parts of the inland Northwest. It was a big deal for what we were seeing widespread across the region yesterday. What you need to know what's happening in our weather pattern for the day today is daytime highs will reach into the low 90s. It is going to be mostly sunny and mostly dry through this upcoming weekend. Of course, when it comes to tracking some of this smoke and haze, it all has to do with wind direction, where winds have still been coming from the south-southwest, blowing some of that smoke and haze into eastern Washington and North Idaho. But into this afternoon, we're watching for our wind direction to shift a little bit, more coming from the west, but that means areas to the east of fires could be seeing some more dense smoke. So be aware of that, especially if you are sensitive to worsened air quality. Otherwise, we are going to be seeing plenty of sunshine, mostly dry conditions for the day today. Highs this afternoon are going to be in the low 90s for Spokane. We are looking at reaching into into the upper 80s through the North Idaho Panhandle. And this weekend, these are actually going to be some of the cooler temperatures that we're going to see because temperatures will climb through this upcoming work week. And so that's what you need to be aware of. Also, some reminders that in this hot weather, it can be difficult to keep your house cool. So here are some ways to help you lower the temperature inside. In the summer months, your home can quickly heat up. To reduce temperatures, experts say to close your blinds and curtains during the day. According to the U.S. Department of Energy, 76% of the sunlight that hits a standard double-pane window turns into heat. Turn your blinds upward or close them all the way to reduce the amount of heat coming into your home. The lighter the window treatment, the better. And in cases of extreme emergency heat, FEMA recommends putting aluminum foil-covered cardboard over your windows to reflect the sun's rays.
We are constantly upgrading our devices, but what happens to the old ones left behind? One company is trying to reboot how we recycle our old tech. Evan Moon takes us inside the process.
New phone, new laptop, new gadget. But what happens to the old ones? From smartwatches to digital doorbells, millions of devices are sitting unused or heading for the trash.
Each average American has about 25 devices. People used to think of them as trash. They're really a treasure.
Electronics are the fastest growing waste stream in the world, according to the UN. ERI, Electronic Recyclers International, is working to reduce all that waste. We visited their New Jersey facility.
Oh my goodness, look how many phones. Since 2010, the growth of e-waste has outpaced normal single plastic recycling 5 times over. Right now, the world is generating more than 130 billion pounds of electronic waste.
ERI's co-founder and CEO, John Shigarian.
100% of your electronics, when responsibly recycled, could go back into the circular economy. All the steel, the gold, the silver, the lead, the copper, the aluminum.
Not only does it go back to what he calls the SpaceX and NVIDIA economies, recycling old tech helps safeguard the environment.
This is full of hazardous material, including lead.
But the reality is only about 15% of electronics are being recycled in the U.S.
What's keeping people from recycling?
People are worried about their personal information, their data, their banking information, their social security number.
That's why ERI makes military-grade data wiping part of the process. Shigarian says as the Earth starts to run out of valuable materials, urban mining from discarded electronics can help bridge the gap.
The technological revolution is still underway. We have to be just more thoughtful and more intentional.
ERI is in every zip code, working with cities like New York to place drop-off bins in thousands of buildings, and with major retailers, including Best Buy, Staples, and Salvation Army. Evan Moon, CBS News.
New this week, Gonzaga announced that this upcoming basketball season, fans will be able to buy alcohol. Drinks will be available for purchase at designated concession stands. People can purchase no more than 2 alcoholic beverages at a time. This is following guidance from the Washington State Liquor and Cannabis Board. The student section will remain an alcohol-free zone. The school's athletic director says that they will evaluate the program throughout the year and make adjustments as needed. Today is WSU night at the Mariners game. They are giving away this really cool Mariners WSU themed baseball jersey. Keep in mind you do need that special ticket, and at last check, tickets were sold out. First pitch is set for 5:08 p.m. If you're looking for some travel plans later this year, how about Hawaii? Alaska Airlines announced they are expanding routes with new nonstop flights between Spokane and Honolulu this winter. So it's just a seasonal service, so it will only be between the months of December and April of next year. July is Financial Freedom Month. Coming up, expert tips for achieving your financial goals. And later, a Pacific Northwest man found a one-of-a-kind item at a thrift store, and now he's cashing in on $250,000. How it all happened, that's in 15 minutes. According to a recent study from the National Endowment for Financial Education, 8 in 10 Americans reported feeling some level of financial stress this year. So July is known as National Financial Freedom Month. And this morning we want to talk about what people can do to build healthy financial habits and work towards setting their financial goals. So we have Derek Wing with GISA Credit Union here with us this morning. So thanks for being here, first off.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us more about what financial freedom actually means.
Sure. Well, financial freedom, Tim, is not a fixed dollar amount, as some people might think. In fact, it means different things to different people. It could be something like paying off a debt, or saving for an emergency fund, or planning for a big purchase. And so, it's really different for everyone. And the goals might be different, but the bottom line is still the same when it comes to financial freedom. You want to lower your stress. You want to feel more confident about how you manage your money. And you want the flexibility to enjoy your life without financial worry.
Yeah, because it can be so stressful. So if someone wants to gain control of their finances, a big question probably is, where do I start?
Yeah, and the answer is know your budget. What we mean by that is know how much money is coming in, know how much money is going out, and know where that money is going. And once you get that clarity, then you'll be able to plan for the important things in your life. Something that might be a short-term thing, like going out to a really nice dinner with friends or family, or maybe doing something a little longer term, like possibly buying a car. And to get there, we recommend following this rule, 50-30-20. What that means is take what you earn and put 50% of it towards needs, 30% of it towards wants, and 20% of it towards savings. And if you do that, then you get in a pretty good position.
Yeah, that's some good advice. And for people who may be just getting started, especially, younger adults, how much of a difference does starting early actually make?
It makes all the difference, Tim. Time is your friend when it comes to financial freedom. The earlier you can start saving and investing, the more opportunity you have for your money to grow. And another benefit is when you start younger, those good habits, those good financial habits tend to carry over into your adult life. That's why GISA is so passionate about financial education and financial literacy for young people. We actually have a program called the High School Credit Union Program, and we've seen firsthand the positive impact that's had on young people.
Yeah, totally. So I also want to ask you, do you have any final thoughts on what next steps? I always like to talk about next steps that, someone watching right now, what they can do to take, to have financial freedom.
Sure, absolutely. What I'll say is that there is no one-size-fits-all path or approach to financial freedom. It's really about understanding your finances and making little tweaks along the way, paying down debt, maybe taking a little extra money that you have, putting it into saving. Those little things make a big difference in the long run.
Totally. And how can people get more information through GISA or any other resources you guys provide?
Sure. Number of branches here in the Spokane area. Go talk to a financial expert there, or you can always go to GISA.com.
All right, Derek Wing, thanks so much. Always good to see you.
You as well. Thanks, Tim.
We'll be right back. The Spokane Public Library coming up millions of dollars short and calling on the city for help. The services they'll cut if nothing changes. This week, we got a clearer picture of the financial troubles facing the Spokane Public Library. Without help, library officials say they will have to cut back on hours and services before the end of the year. Regan Gallo has more on the budget shortfall.
Well, officials with the Spokane Public Library tell me that the library could face a budget shortfall up to $3 million, which would impact all branches. But at the downtown central location, that could mean a possibility of closures on Saturdays, Sundays, and Mondays.
Something you want to say, Joe?
Linda Ricken and her son Joey tell me they love coming to Spokane's Central Library in downtown.
Working in puzzles, and it has mathematics, geography, so we always discover this type of resources for him.
Library leaders tell me all library branches could close on Sundays and Mondays, while the Central Library could also close on Saturdays due to a possible budget shortfall.
Without some surety, because we have limited funds at hand, we are going to need to make cuts sooner than 2027 in order to minimize the impact on the public.
Andrew Chance with the Spokane Public Library explains the library now asks the city for $2.3 million in bridge funding to avoid deep cuts. Without it, they say they may eliminate up to 23 full-time positions.
We have been identified as a priority by the people, so honor that. Figure out that commitment. Make it happen.
Officials say the cuts may reduce library services by up to 50%, including book delivery to daycares and senior centers, story time, kiosk access, and access to meeting rooms. With the library's uncertain future, this has some families wondering what comes next.
Where would you go to get something similar? Would you have a place to go to, a third space outside of the home? What would you guys do if then this closed down for 3 days out of the week?
Especially in the cold days, it's more difficult going to the parks, right? So we usually use this beautiful place on the coldest days. We will have to see what else we can do, but we really love this resource in the community.
If you want people to stay here for a while and raise a family here, having access to stuff like this I think is really important. And like I said earlier, I think it would just be a big blow to the community.
And Spokane City Council President Betsy Wilkerson stated today, "We are acutely aware of the urgency of this issue and are actively working to address it. But it is premature to draw firm conclusions until we have fully assessed our options and any forthcoming decisions." Now that full statement from City Council President Wilkerson can be found at KREM.com.
That was Regan Gallo reporting. The Spokane Public Library says the Central Library would receive the most cuts to its hours because it's the most expensive and busiest branch to run. They say they would save the most money by closing it for 3 days a week.
We had crops waking up way too early because of the warm temperatures. And so we had things blossoming and starting to bear fruit long before they were supposed to.
Berry growers in Montana are struggling after a rough stretch of weather. A warm winter led to some plants producing fruits. A late freeze in May ended up damaging many. A mix of low snow and moisture in the soil is not helping either, leading to smaller berries. To help, some farms started growing different fruits and harvesting what they could.
Well, thanks so much for joining us here on this Saturday. Let's get a look at the forecast and what we are seeing across the region. Temperatures are going to reach into the low 90s this afternoon for Spokane. It will be mostly sunny, but what we were seeing yesterday was a ton of wildfire smoke and reduced air quality. And so we are still waking up to areas of that this morning, a bit of the haze, and you might still smell some of that smoke. So if you are someone who is particularly sensitive to this or really impacted by wildfire smoke, you may want to consider doing some things inside for any weekend plans that you might have. Here's one model's estimate of what we're expecting to see as some of this smoke moves through the region. A big player in this has to do with our wind direction, where winds are still going to be coming from the south-southwest, blowing wildfire smoke from fires that are burning for the down toward southern Washington and Oregon up into parts of eastern Washington and North Idaho, which is why we're waking up to some of these hazy conditions. Moving into this afternoon, though, the winds, they shift a little bit, expected to be coming more from the west and blowing some of that smoke further toward areas that are east of wildfires that are burning. We're even watching to potentially clear out a bit more for Spokane and Coeur d'Alene by Sunday. But of course, all of this factors into the wind direction that does stay consistent with our modeling, as well as the potential for new fires to start. That could also throw a wrench in our plans to hopefully see some clearer conditions. As far as what we're watching for, though, through this afternoon, winds are going to be a little bit breezy at times with gusts near 25 miles per hour possible. Sustained winds more from about 10 to 15 miles per hour, but still coming from the south-southwest. Moving forward through the rest of the day today, as well as into tomorrow, we are gradually going to see those winds calm down, but still could be a little bit breezy at times tonight over the Cascade Gaps. Future tracker, though, for you, plenty of widespread sunshine. We are preparing for an extended stretch here of mostly dry and clear weather conditions. We can see that as we take our future tracker all the way here through Sunday, even into Sunday afternoon. Taking a look at your temperatures, highs will reach the low 90s for Spokane. We're looking at some upper 80s across the North Idaho Panhandle. However, highs in the mid to upper 80s down on the Palouse. We've got low 90s for Moses Lake as the high and some upper 90s for Richland and the lower Columbia Basin. That's one of the hottest spots on the map for us. Overnight tonight, we drop here into the low to mid 50s, even upper 50s across Bonners Ferry, Sandpoint, and Coeur d'Alene. Low 60s is what we fall to tonight in Spokane, 59 degrees for Moses Lake, and we are in the low 60s for Grand Coulee and Omak. Taking a look, though, of our outlook into next week, temperatures are still going to be on the warmer side as we are going to continue to see highs, even bumping up a little bit into the mid 90s through our extended forecast, the middle to end of next week. We do have the potential of seeing some more storm activity, bringing in some wet weather, but that's something that we'll have to monitor closely. For now, dry conditions this weekend. Just watch out and make sure you're checking the latest air quality here, especially if that is something you are sensitive to. You can also always get updates and stream our live local radar for completely free on the KREM 2 app. It's easy to download on your TV or your phone.
Our next story, a Pacific Northwest man won the thrift store lottery with a one-of-a-kind find. You won't want to miss this story in just 2 minutes. Well, Jenny, do you ever go thrift shopping?
You know, I have before.
Okay.
You know, I'm not like a crazy thrifter like some people are like experts, but I'll go to the thrift store every once in a while.
No, why not? If you're looking for something maybe really specific or you're trying to mix it up. Well, a really cool story this morning that actually might inspire you to browse the racks at your local thrift store. A Portland teen found a one-of-a-kind item at a secondhand bin, which turns out to be worth $250,000. Wow. Here's the story.
I found this jacket. It was Wilt Chamberlain's 1972 NBA Finals warm-up jacket.
Quinn Brown's slam dunk of a Goodwill find is the stuff thrifting legends are made of. Back in January, the 19-year-old was picking through the pay-by-the-pound bins at a Goodwill outlet in Portland when the yellow and purple Lakers jacket caught his eye. A jacket authenticators say Chamberlain actually wore during the 1972 NBA Finals.
I saw somebody looking at it, and I was kind of waiting, and they ended up just throwing it back in the bin, immediately grabbed it. Didn't know what I had at the time, but definitely knew it was something special.
Just how special? How about $150,000 to $250,000 worth? That's how much Sotheby's expects Chamberlain's jacket will fetch when they put it up for auction Wednesday.
Obviously never even expected to find anything like 100th of what this ended up being worth.
Quinn's been picking the bins and reselling vintage clothes for 3 years now. He postponed his freshman year of college to try it full time.
Put in a lot of hours to be able to find something like this.
And I think he did kind of, hit the lottery, so to speak.
Troy Douglas owns Back to the Basket on Southeast Hawthorne. They specialize in vintage basketball merch and often buy items that sellers scavenged at thrift outlets. But the Wilt Chamberlain jacket, he can't believe Quinn's luck.
And I said, what, $250,000? I was like, what are we doing? I was like, we worked so hard here. Like, I need to find something, I just was happy for the kid, but I was just like, gosh, $250,000 is crazy.
As for how the jacket ended up at the Goodwill in the first place, no answers. Just one tiny clue.
A dry cleaner tag on the jacket. So somewhere from the dry cleaners, somebody forgot it, something like that, but not anything concrete.
The only person cleaning up here is Quinn.
That is such a crazy story.
What a find.
I know.
Seriously, but the thing with the name Chamberlain, obviously, this famous basketball player, but I think I would have just passed right by it.
Might have not even been able to recognize
so many
what it
people
was.
With the last name Chamberlain that I'm like, it says someone donated a jacket.
Right? Exactly. Or you might even think, this can't be real, right? Maybe someone made it at home and is getting rid of it. That's quite a find.
Wow. Overnight, millionaire or whatever. So pretty cool.
Instantly, just by having a good eye.
Yeah, and if you have got something maybe from a thrift store of a good find, text it to us. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, we would.
All right, that'll do it for us here on Up with KREM. We'll see you back here tomorrow for more Up with KREM.
Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe, stay hydrated, and enjoy your weekend.